Well, so let's decouple this issue. And first, what was the original conception of this new technologies that INEC introduced? The BVAS is a device. The iRev is a portal. The BVAS was introduced to deepen the integrity of the voter verification process, the accreditation process. And why? Because we've had cases of multiple voting by proxy. And so this whole accreditation process was introduced to limit, electoral malpractice. And then its other function is to take image of the result sheets and upload. The whole discussion was Nigerians clamored for transmission of election results. Because there are two distinct things. Collation and transmission are different things. Transmission is the movement of results from one point to another. And then collation is totaling and adding up all the results. That process of collation, is manual. What Nigerians have thought and what they were meant to believe was that results will be transmitted electronically, to a particular center, and then it will be visible. But then, the design of the entire process was mainly for upload. So people and Nigerians, and we all thought that, yes, this device was going to be for electronic transmission, because it's important to listen to the language that has come from both INEC. There's a fundamental difference between upload and transmission of results. But if you check the Electoral Act, it gives INEC discretionary powers to do what? To manage the results, collation, and transmission process. INEC, in furtherance of that particular power, designed in its guidelines and clearly prescribes the process. And it is clearly articulated in INEC guidelines, the process of transmitting results, which includes using the BVAS. They go to the court, and the court says that the implication is, what the court says that there is a hierarchy in our laws. And there are only two major cardinal pillars of our electoral legal framework: the Constitution and the Electoral Act. So if INEC guidelines prescribe electronic transmission, it is unknown to law because the guidelines is not part of our electoral legal frameworks. And it begs to question, if the law says INEC can issue guidelines, and INEC issues guidelines pursuant to the law that gives it the power, it then means that that guideline does have the force of law. But the Supreme Court have consistently downgraded, the guidelines. And so everything contained in the guidelines, if it's contested in court, the court will say, no, but it's unknown, it has to be clearly stated in the Electoral Act. And so they clearly said that the iRev is not a collation center because it is unknown to law. And so I totally agree with Austin. All the results that are on the iRev cannot be tendered in court because they do not have any form of legality. And the Supreme Court also noted that the failure to transmit presidential election results to the iRev did impact on public confidence. There's a fundamental difference between, what has legality and also what inspires, public confidence. And the iRev, as at today, only exists to promote transparency. It does not have any legal implication based on the interpretation of the Supreme Court. But in our view, if it is stated in INEC guidelines, and those guidelines are made pursuant to the constitutional powers vested in INEC, then you don't need to clearly prescribe that, because your law already says the procedure for voting and transmission of results shall be determined by the Electoral Commission. The Electoral Commission says, okay, we have this power. We have now determined the procedure, and this is it in our guidelines. You turn around and say, no, it has to be clearly stated in the Electoral Act. And the point needs to be made. And I feel really sad as a Nigerian. And I know there are many Nigerians out there that this innovative technology that INEC introduced to our electoral process to deepen the integrity of our process has now become the tool used to undermine, to assault, and also impede on the credibility of our process. You can clearly see from this election that politicians are not just trying to make a mockery of technology. They have really succeeded in impugning on the credibilities of this technology. And it's going to take us a lot of work to rebuild public confidence in both the BVAs as well as the iRev. And I hope that our legislators are following this entire process. Because when an opportunity for reform actually comes, we need to safeguard these technologies. The more we continually have human interference in our process, you're going to have compromised processes. And I hope that, as a nation, we rise up to protect the BVAs as well as the iRev, because these technologies will help. Look at this pre-filled and pre-filled results. And then you talk about BVAs. You look at the accreditation figures. I just hope that the stakeholders out there need to know, in case they're preparing to go to court, that the court has held that the primary source of accreditation is the BVAs. Even if the iRev has a different figure, even if you spot an inconsistency with the accreditation figure on the iRev and what's on the result sheet, at the end of the day, it's the accreditation figure on the BVAs that will be because as a primary source of accreditation, that's what the court is going to use in determining whatever dispute that comes before it.